welcome to this session with the real Andrew Brazier. And he's going to tell you about how to get into the games industry and the weird ways.
Some of them are.
Some weird ways and some perfectly ordinary ways to get into the games industry. So, big hand, please, for Andrew Brazier.
Okay, thanks everyone. First up, I apologise for the horrendous clickbait title of this talk. It's purely to get bums on seats, but it seems to have worked, so that's good. So yeah, the title is Why You'll Be Lucky to Get a Job and Why Luck, in reality, will probably have nothing to do with it. Just to give you a bit of background about me, I worked in the games industry for 9 years, starting off as an artist and then moving into design. 10 years ago, I moved into education and now teach games, art and design at Warwickshire College, where we've got further education and higher education games courses. So it was quite a jump for me to move from development and then literally I had a weekend and then I was straight into teaching. So it was a big leap, but throughout my time in the industry and the time teaching, I've come across a lot of people who want to get into the industry. Obviously, that's the ultimate goal. When I was in the industry, I used to review portfolios daily and look at CVs and whatever else. So I've had a lot of experience of evaluating people's abilities and guiding them towards their hopeful career in the industry. Luck is an interesting thing. If you're in the Oliver Twins talk earlier, they talked about how they felt that they were lucky to get their break. I agree with that. You do sometimes need a slice of luck, but I also am a strong believer that you make your own luck. There's an urban legend about I hope it's not true, about a boss in the games industry who had a big pile of applications on his desk for people looking to get into his studio, and he took the top half of the pile and dropped it in the bin. And someone said, why on earth are you doing that? And he said, well, I don't want to work with unlucky people. So I'm hoping that that's not true, but who knows? You may be up against that sort of thing. So yeah, in reality, luck has very little to do with your chances of getting a job. So recently at my college, we had a load of people come in to do guest speaking talks, one of whom was a guy called Simon Gustafsson, who is a freelance concept artist. He previously used to work for Double Negative, the visual effects studio, and he's worked on Harry Potter, Hellboy, Les Miserables. His most recent project he's just finished is the reboot of Beauty and the Beast, the sort of live-action Beauty and the Beast. So he is. I used to work with him a long time ago. I kind of gave him his first job actually in the games industry, and then he went into film industry after that. And he's probably the most talented artist I know. He just defies all sort of logic in his ability, and it scares me quite frankly when I see him doing stuff. I can't fathom how he can be that good. And chatting to him when he came to do his talk, he said to me, people say to me, you're so talented, you're so lucky. And he said, that actually offends me because I'm not lucky or talented. I've just worked harder than they have. And he's Swedish, and that's kind of classic Swedish pragmatism. It's kind of like, no, this isn't something I was born with. This isn't some magic power that I have. I've just worked really hard to get to that point. And that's his view, and I very much agree with that. So I think every games conference talk has to have Star Wars references in there somewhere. So this is a question for everybody, really. Why are you here? And that seems a bit of an odd question to ask, but I think it's worth reflecting on why you are actually at university, what you are hoping to achieve from your time at university, and how well you think you're progressing towards that goal. The ultimate goal of most people, I would assume, is that they hope to work in the games industry eventually, and you're making progress towards that end result. But while you're here, it's worth thinking about what are you doing? What are you spending your time focusing on? Are you focusing on achieving the best grades you can and getting the highest marks and the best results so you get a good degree at the end? Or are you focusing on your employability? And those two things are connected, but are also different. There are skills you need to be employable that you probably don't need in order to get very good results on your degree or college course or whatever it is you're doing. While you are here, there are lots of things to distract you from what you should be doing. And you all know, I'm sure, just how hard it is to be really good at what you want to do. And you've all got this hanging over you, this debt that you're building up and need to repay back one day. So if your course is costing you £9,000 a year, which I guess most people it's probably costing about that, that's about £50 a day if you're in 5 days a week. So you may not be in that many days a week. So if you're in 5 days a week, it's about £50 a day. And again, just think about that and the fact that you're handing over £50 per day for your time here to use the facilities, to be taught by your lecturers. If you were paying £50 to go and see a film, you went to cinema, wanted to see the latest film, and it was £50 for a ticket, you'd watch the hell out of that film because you would want to make sure you absolutely absorbed every last bit of information you could about that film. Can you say that about each day that you come to university or college or whatever it is? Are you coming in willing to wring out every last bit of value that you can get from that investment that you're making? It's about making the most of your course, your facilities, the opportunities that you get here, and spending your time working towards being employable. If you spend 10 minutes a day doing something here or wherever you are based, other than what you should be doing, in other words, working towards getting employable, that's going to cost you about £800 over the duration of your course. So again, that's just 10 minutes a day of distraction. So it all builds up. And if you start thinking about it in horrible kind of graphic financial terms like that, it does kind of focus your mind somewhat, especially if you're someone like me who's really stingy and gets worried about that sort of amount of money. So the upshot is, are you working towards your employability with every minute that you spend during your education? Because that's what you should be doing in order to get the best value from your investment. The games industry is growing in the UK, but it's still relatively small. And there are a lot of people currently studying game subjects, either at HE level or postgraduate level or further education level. Thousands of people studying just in the UK alone. And so the competition for jobs, as I'm sure you've been told before, is tough. There is a crossover. There are jobs available. There are graduate jobs available. But there's a lot of people competing for those. So how do you make yourself the person who gets in that little green slice there? How do you make yourself the person that stands out? I guess you've all got, everyone who's ever in a class with, on this sort of course, there's always someone in the class who is loads better than everybody else. And you just can't work out why. They're doing the same things, they're coming to the same institution, they're using the same computers, they're just massively better. And every class has one of those people or more. So the question is, why are they better than everybody else? What are they doing differently? Were they born with this kind of innate ability to make computer games? No. They are the people who are putting in the effort, putting in the work in order to get that good. It's not something that they were just blessed with. So if you can identify that person now, you can sit and think, yeah, I know that person in my group. That's the person who's going to get that job. So that's the person that you need to be better at. So it gives you a very clear target that you need to be working towards. You've got clear competition there in your group that will be the person that you need to be better than in order to claim that elusive job at the end. If that person isn't you, then a question for you is, well, what do I need to put in place in order to make it me? How can I improve my work? How can I improve my chances? What do I need to be doing to work towards that? This is a little strange offshoot. You may have heard this story, but this is a chap called Ali Dia who played for Southampton Football Club in 1996 as a striker. Graham Souness, the then Southampton football team manager, signed Ali Dia and was convinced that he was a world-class footballer because Ali Dia had told him that he was the brother of a chap called George Weah, who was a world-class footballer, and that he had this amazing record and he was very talented and he should be signed and he should play for Southampton. And Graham Souness believed him and signed him and put him on a contract and whatever. And then when he actually got to play, everyone realised he was rubbish, and it was a complete disaster. And I think he's got the shortest career that there ever was in the Premier League. He lasted about 15 minutes, I think, before he was taken off again. So the reason I'm going on this tangent is that Ali Dia looked great on paper. He talked a good game. He managed to convince people on paper that he was worth employing. But when it came down to it, all his skills were theoretical. They weren't actually practical. When you graduate, you're going to be in the same situation. You'll have skills on paper, but what employers will be looking for is practical implementation of those skills. So how do you be that person in your group, that person that everybody can't understand how good they are? And how do you not be Ali Dia? Well, the answer is you make things. And that's the talk was titled How I Got a Job in Games by Using These 10 Weird Tricks. This is the one weird tip, if you like, that you need to take away. It's not really weird. It's fairly obvious, really. The way to get a job is to show people what you can do. That doesn't necessarily mean your CV, your ream of qualifications that you might have. That's all very nice and very important things to have. But at the end of the day, the employer is going to know, what can you actually do? And that's what they will pay you money for, is what you can do. So one of the things to consider is your personality type. Are you more of a creator or are you more of a consumer? And you can kind of roughly estimate how much time per week you spend doing these things. How much time, if you're a consumer, how much time do you spend playing, watching, listening, etc. Where you are consuming media that other people have made for you, whether that's games or music or films or whatever it might be. And then how much time do you spend creating new things? If you want to work in a creative job eventually, then your balance needs to be towards creation, because creating stuff has a direct impact on your employability. Consuming stuff doesn't, strictly speaking. I guess if you want to be a Let's Player or something, then you might want to play a lot of games, but then you're still creating content, are you? You're creating new things. But if you're just passively consuming, then that is not helping you towards your desired career goal. So creation, those things, whether you're an artist, whether you're a coder, animator, whatever. Evaluation and analysis is also creating, where you're looking at things, working out why they are good, why they're not good. Those are all important skills. I've underlined publish there because creating content in a bubble is no use to you or anybody else. You'll just make things and then you'll keep them to yourself and they'll never go any further. Publishing that stuff is brave, it's tough, It's scary. Putting your work out to the world for criticism and feedback is scary, but it's essential, because then you are getting feedback from the people who you hope to be your consumer in the future. It will force you to work harder and work better, because you know that you're going to put yourself on a plate to the world, and that raises the stakes. That makes you work harder, because you want to look as good as you can. Nobody wants to release a complete flop. I know, I've worked on a few complete flops in my time, so that does put you under pressure and make you kind of focus on what you're producing. Your end result that you hope to see is that you want to you're trying to convince a company to pay money for your skills and abilities. That's a job. That's in broad terms, that's what a job is. So the question is, what would you currently pay yourself at the moment? What do you think your skills are currently worth in cash money right now? And this picture here is called the Red Vineyard at Arles. Some of you may recognise it if you're arty people. It's by Vincent van Gogh. He created over 900 paintings in his lifetime, and that's the only one that he sold. So throughout his life, none of his work made any money for him other than that one painting. Now, obviously, it's worth millions. So what are your skills worth? Is the value of those skills enough for you to live off? Could you live comfortably off those skills? Could you scrape a living? If you were going to pay someone £20,000 a year for their abilities to write code for you or to draw graphics for you, how good would you want that person to be in order to hand over £20,000 of your money for their skills? Are you that good? Do those two things balance? Would you be happy to pay yourself £20,000 a year? What I guess it comes down to is an impressive CV with lots of great grades and degrees and masters and whatever else it is you might do. An impressive CV is not going to get you a job in games. An impressive show reel or an impressive demo will get you a job in games. When I used to review applications for jobs at the company I worked at, the developer I worked at, I primarily focused on art, so that was the area that I dealt with the most. I would get show reels through and I would look at the work first. I wasn't interested in the person's name, where they were from, what gender they were, what their history was, couldn't care less. All I was interested in initially was their work. If their work was good enough, then I would look at their CV. And they could have been working at, I don't know, Nintendo for 15 years. Doesn't matter. If what I'm seeing in their work isn't what I'm looking for, then it doesn't matter what your history is. So again, it comes down to the skills. What can you do? What is the value of those skills, and how are you going to show those skills to potential employers? So here come the 10 weird tips, although they're not really that weird. So number one, great games have been made with worse tools and equipment than you have now. So in the 90s, if you wanted to make, if you went to the Oliver Twins talk, you would have heard about the sort of things that they needed to do to make games in the 90s. If you wanted to make console games in the 90s, it was pretty much impossible. I still not sure how games got made in the 90s, because you needed, first of all, to be a licensed developer. And in order to be a licensed developer, you had to have a business, you had to have staff, you had to have an infrastructure and a track record. You had to have probably one or two people who had released big games before and were recognizable. And you had to have a solid business model. You couldn't just start up and say, right, I want to make games for the PlayStation. So you had to do that. Then you had to buy dev kits, which were thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. And so if you wanted 4 or 5, you were looking at perhaps 40 or 50,000 pound investment just in the dev kits for the consoles. Then the software was really expensive. Then you had to get a distribution deal. All of that stuff mounted up to make it actually really, really difficult to make games in that period. But obviously people did. And the kind of upshot is now that all of that stuff is now gone, pretty much. You can make games for essentially free with tools that you can go and download now. So don't wait for the next bit of software to come along that somehow is going to make it easier, or the next game engine update that's going to make it easier. You'll wait forever. Just get started with what you have now. And as it says, great games have been made with really, really bad tools. The tools that you get now, Unreal, Unity, whatever it is, are amazing. And there's nothing stopping you making cool stuff with it other than yourselves. Number 2 is who knows you and what you can do. Your first job in the industry will probably not find you. You will need to find it. That means getting yourself out there and networking in meet space with real people, which is scary. I just, at lunch earlier, that the computer room was full of people all eating, and I was standing in the corridor, and I thought, hold on a minute, I'm going to tell everybody they need to be networking and making contacts in that sort of situation. So I'm not taking my own advice. But when you get out there, when you get to talk to people like these events or at other games industry social events, you will find that the games industry generally is full of really nice people. And they were all in the situation that you were in once. So they were all trying to get their first job in the industry once. So they can remember that. They're not heartless. And they will help you. They will give you advice if you want it and ask for it. It also helps to know who important, influential people are. The Oliver twins were there in that room eating their lunch. They've been in the industry longer than pretty much anybody else. They employ lots of staff. It's a great opportunity to get your work under their nose. Go and talk to them and introduce yourself, or even at least know who they are visually. So should your paths cross, you can talk to them and take advantage of that. So that's about kind of being aware of the industry, being aware of who the key players are in the industry, because you never know when you might bump into them, especially if you go to events like EGX or Develop Conference or things like that. You'll pass cross, and it's like, oh, right, I know that person. He's the head of recruitment at Codemasters. I need to talk to that person. So make sure you know who those important people are. So networking events are great for that sort of thing. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm terrified of that sort of thing, I totally understand that. I'd be the same. But you've got to do it. You have to overcome that in order to get yourself and your work out to the world. Game jams are another great thing to do, obviously where you are meeting new people, discovering new skills, and crucially also building your experience as well. So perhaps the thing that your education may not give you, that practical, right, here's games I've made experience. So those are great events to do as well. And there is always that element of luck, which I know I said luck will have nothing to do with it. But sometimes things do come into place that mean you do have an opportunity drop on your lap. So it's about how ready you are for that opportunity and how proactive you are in taking it. One example, talking about Codemasters, the guy who, I don't think he works there anymore, but he used to be their recruitment manager or talent scout basically at Codemasters, and he told me that he was at EGX one year. And he'd taken a bit of time away from the show floor and gone to the local pub and was just having a pint. And there was a group of lads sitting at the table who were also drinking and were chatting about games and all of that sort of stuff. And he went over to them and sat down with them and struck up a conversation. And then when they left the pub, they'd all got jobs in the Codemasters QA department. So it was about those people being in the right place at the right time and taking advantage of that opportunity, so that they were able to sell themselves when they had the chance to do so. Tip 3 is get impartial feedback from your work. Someone saying that sucks is no help to you. Also, someone saying that's great is no help to you. You want reasons. You need reasons. So don't ask your mum what they think of your work, because they'll say it's great, whether it is or isn't. You need to be told if it's good or bad and why it's good or bad. If it's great, you need to know what people enjoy about it so that you can build on that. If it sucks, then you need to know what's wrong with it so you can fix it and make changes next time around, learn from it. Impartial feedback is often found on places like online forums and message boards, communities online, where you can post your work, you can share your progress. You will get the odd idiot who just posts completely unhelpful stuff. But if you want to be a professional games developer, you've got to kind of harden your skin to that anyway. So the sooner you start doing it, the better. So ignore the idiots and just deal with the useful, helpful feedback. When I was in the industry, I used to scour those boards for people, because that's one of the key places I would find people for new talent. I'd find people there. And there are industry people on those boards looking for people like you. So showing your work on there, getting feedback will help you. Tip 4 is judge if you are industry ready. This is actually surprisingly easy to do, and one that not a lot of people do. If you're an artist, it's very easy to judge if your skills are industry ready. Look at a game. Is your art as good as that? If no, then you're not industry ready. If yes, then you've got a chance. So the games industry or games industry employers aren't going to take you on if they think, oh, he's kind of average, but reckon we can work with that. No, they want people who are going to be day one ready to go. So, I mean, this is an image from a website called The Rookies, which is a graduate talent website. It's a brilliant place to go and see what you're up against. You can see examples of artwork. There's also games people have made if you're more of a code person, and so on. So art is obviously quite easy visually to see. Code is more difficult, but if you play games, can you write, I don't know, an AI NPC that seems as natural as it does in a AAA game you've played? It doesn't have to be exactly the same and exactly as good, but it needs to be comparable. Doing that, it gives you a really easy marker as to whether your work's up to that level or not. But yeah, the rookies.co, I haven't missed a bit off that address, by the way. That is it. It's just the rookies.co. A great place to go to see competition and put your own work there as well. Tip 5 is break the experience barrier. That's the common one we hear a lot of. Oh, how do you get a job in games? Everyone wants people with experience. How do you get experience if you can't get a job? That's the vicious circle that comes around time and time again. Again, get your work out there. Community forums, community competitions, game jams, making mods is a great way to get your work under the eyes of important people and also break that experience barrier. You can say, I've made these mods for these games. Here you go. You can download them and play them and see what you think. This is an image from a mod that was made for Skyrim, which redesigned all of the female characters' armor to make it a little bit more kind of standard and not, chainmail bikini style. That's a portfolio with that in is going to be brilliant because there's immediate practical results for the skills the person had, and they've also got experience as well. Tip number 6 is get personal. This is a bit weird, this one. But you will be up against a lot of people applying for these jobs. My advice would be to take the time to make a personal application. It means more effort on your part, but employers value that. So it doesn't take a lot of effort to find out the name of the person who will be reviewing your application. Whether that's just phoning up the studio and saying, can you tell me the name of this person? Or doing a bit of digging online or whatever, you can find it out with a bit of effort. Then, when you apply directly to that person. Address your email or your letter directly to that person. That person will value your effort and your enterprise. And you need every little advantage you can get. So it does seem a little bit strange to kind of go to that length, but I think it's definitely worth it. And I would value that if I was recruiting somebody and they'd taken the time to find out who I was. It comes down basically to not giving people reasons to forget you. They will be looking at lots of other applications at the same time. You've got to make yours memorable in whatever way you think that best works for you. It's effort, but it does separate you from everyone else, because majority of people will just go, yeah, email, send that off. Oh, there's another one. I'll just send off the same CV and the same showreel, rather than looking at what the studio makes, making sure that the work in the showreel reflects what the studio makes, and the CV is targeted specifically to the sort of skills that the job advert is looking for. There isn't just one generic CV that will work for everybody. It needs to be personal and focused on the job that you're applying for. Tip 7, learn what to love about rejection. It's going to happen, unless you're very lucky. I had a student once who graduated from university and made one application to Rockstar North, got accepted, and now works there. That's very, very lucky. And I don't mean, in the topic of this talk, it's unusual, I should say, I guess, not lucky, because he's worked hard, he's done well, he's got a good portfolio, but it's unusual to be that fortunate to hit a job straight away. So you are going to get rejected. The issue is how you deal with that rejection. I think you are totally entitled to ask why you were rejected, because how are you going to improve if you don't? Don't feel like you're being annoying. They may tell you to get lost. If they do, well, you wouldn't want to work for them anyway, because they're obviously all jerks. And if they haven't got time to just give you 2 minutes of advice, probably wasn't the best place anyway. So if you do get rejected, when you do get rejected, say, I'm sorry to hear I was rejected. Please could you tell me what wasn't in my work that you were looking to see or hoping to see? And then you can build on that. You can learn from that, and you can improve and move on. Don't take it personally. It's going to happen. It may happen a lot. If you weren't suitable for that job, weren't suitable for that company, doesn't mean you're not suitable, full stop. It just means you weren't suitable for that particular job. Tip 8 is a bit of a cheesy one, but I've heard this said quite a lot of times, and it does make sense. If opportunity doesn't knock, then build a door. So if you feel that employment is not going to work out for you at a company, then, as has been said in other talks, it's never been a better time to become indie. It's tough, it's challenging, but this is an image of a place called Arts Creatives in Leamington Spa, which is a communal workspace where you can rent a desk for a day, a week, a month at a very low cost. And so it's low risk. So you can get people together, you can start with your friends and make a company, make a game without the massive overheads of 12 months studio rent or whatever. You just need a few laptops, somewhere to go, and off you go. I don't know if anyone's played World of Goo, which is a great sort of physicsy puzzle game. That was made by two guys in whichever coffee shop would not kick them out. So it's possible if you are willing to try. Tip 9, don't stop believing. When I was applying for my first job in the industry, this is getting old now, but we were talking about show reels on videotapes. So you had to put your work on a videotape and post it off to the company. So I bought, when I was trying to get my first job, I bought a big box of 50 Jiffy bags to send my videotapes off in. When I eventually got a job in the industry, I looked at that box and I had 2 Jiffy bags left. So I had 48 applications or 47 applications that went to nowhere. So I had interviews that didn't pan out, or just didn't hear a thing, or I got a rejection, or whatever it is. It will happen. You will feel demoralised. You will feel like you are never going to do it. But you've got to keep going, and you've got to keep trying. And if you do, eventually, if you want it enough, it will come good. You don't get 100% of the jobs that you never apply for. So just get your work out there and see what happens. Last one, good luck. There is no luck. As I've talked about, there's fortune, there's being in the right place at the right time, but at the end of the day, it comes down to your skills, your abilities, how employable you are. And there's no other better qualified person to do that than you. So it is what you will make of it at the end of the day. That's it, folks. Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions?
I have a microphone. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, could you put your hand in the air and I'll come to you with a microphone? Oh, come on. He's just given you 10 really, really good tips there. Not one question.
That's fine.
Crikey. I think you must have done such a good presentation that you leave everyone with no questions to ask because they know exactly how to get into the games industry.
Let's hope so.
So could we give Andrew a round of applause, please? Thank you.